Welcome back to the broadcast. Well, approximately 600,000 hysterectomies are performed annually in the U.S., and approximately 20 million American women have had one. It is the second most frequently performed surgical procedure behind C-section. So you can imagine that there are a lot of women who need support and they need a place to go for some answers. And there is a website that does just that. It's called Hystersisters. So joining me now is creator of that website, Kathy Kelly. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I didn't realize that it was that common.
It is.
Hysterectomies were that common. Is it that common because they're necessary, or are some of them being performed unnecessarily?
Probably both. That's one of the things that we try to teach women on the website, is to question doctors, so that when a doctor says, well, you might need a hysterectomy, then we encourage them to ask questions to know better what their choices are. Because with today's technology and medical care, there are a lot of really great choices and options before you even reach the hysterectomy stage.
And this is something that your site does so beautifully. You have an open forum for women to talk to each other, which sometimes is the best way to share information. And then, as you said, articles and points of reference for them to go to for more answers.
Right.
How did you think of doing this? Did you go through a hysterectomy yourself?
I did back in 1998, which is when I launched Hystersisters. I had a hysterectomy, and I don't know if you remember, but back in 1998, there wasn't much on the internet.
No.
In fact, what you could find were really ugly-looking websites that were that hideous green and blue.
With the dial-up connection,
yeah,
too.
Yeah. You had to dial up through AOL,
right?
And so I decided, I was a teacher at the time, and I decided that I would put up a list of frequently asked questions from a patient point of view about my own hysterectomy experience, and then having gathered some great answers. After a while, I realized that women were using my little guest book. We had those Bravo or Brave Network, guest books, and instead, women, instead of just signing that they'd been there, started asking more questions. And so that was sort of our first forum, was a guest book.
You're a little bit of a pioneer.
I am.
With that.
I am.
And it's developed now into a full-fledged site that gets 30,000 hits?
About 30,000 visitors per day.
Oh my goodness.
And we register about 120 to 150 new women per day that are registering. And then, of course, when you start doing the math, you realize that about 80% of the women that visit the site are not registering. So although we register a lot, we have an app, and so the women are actually able to, to connect with the forum and get access to our articles.
Access,
right through their app.
What is the most troubling question or concern that you've seen the women have in your forum?
So probably the most surprising question that most women ask is usually afterwards, and it relates to grief. They're surprised that they're going through a feeling of loss or grief after the loss of their uterus, their womb.
That's what I've heard.
And for most women, well, for a lot of women, it's because they were never able to have children. Their uterus betrayed them. And was diseased, and so they couldn't have children, and that's a great loss. And it's heartbreaking. And then there's another group which I fell into, and this is how I discovered this feeling. Is the night before my own surgery, I crawled into my bathtub. I was going to scrub up with the betadine soap that they'd given me at the hospital, and I started crying. I had 2 children. They were grown. They were in high school. I had no intention of ever having any more children, but just the feeling of loss of this piece of myself.
I can relate with that. That makes me want to cry. Just knowing that there comes a time when bye-bye, you're no longer able to do that.
And that little nest that nested those babies is gone.
And then having a surgery to sort of cement that for you, I can imagine that would be a little traumatic for a lot of women.
Yes, it is.
And what about after a hysterectomy, health-wise, the sort of things that women can, I don't want to say look forward to, because some of them are not good side effects. Gaining weight, sometimes, mood swings, other things like that.
And a lot of it depends on if you've had your ovaries removed as well. The hysterectomy is the surgical removal of the womb, the uterus, and it doesn't involve the ovaries.
Oh, I thought it was everything. So hysterectomy is not everything.
Right. A hysterectomy is just the uterus. So if you have a total hysterectomy, it means that you've had your whole uterus removed. Now, if you have your ovaries removed as well, or the fallopian tubes, those are oophorectomies and salpingo. There's There's other words that go with that. But most of the time, women just say, well, I had a total hysterectomy, and they mean that they had their ovaries out too. But it's really medically.
Now, would they stop menstruating at that point?
Yes.
With a total hysterectomy?
With a total hysterectomy.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's another thing that they have to get used to
Right.
as well. When you deal with that, you having your period your whole life. And
Right.
all of a sudden you don't have it
Right.
anymore. It's a good thing, but
Right.
still something to deal with.
Right.
Well, you are doing such a service for women, really.
Thank you.
And I just applaud you because you've been doing this for so long.
I have. We're coming up on our 16th year in August.
That's fantastic. And you found, a topic that a lot of women were interested in. I'll bet you were surprised to see how many.
Absolutely. It was a real great surprise because I just put it up thinking, oh, I'm going to drop a few little breadcrumbs for women coming behind me. And even, after, even 1999 and 2000, I kept getting all these hits, and Yahoo selected the website as a hot find, and which is bizarre because this is pre-Google.
Right. What are doctors saying about your site? Are they supportive of you?
They're very supportive of me. I've got great champion doctors and the medical community, and they invite me to some of their conferences to speak to them about patient support and the kind of things that I'm learning about their patients and how they might better prepare and take care of their own patients.
So important.
It's great.
Oh, congratulations,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
Such good work. Once again, that website, if you're interested, is Hystersisters.com. It's H-I-S-T-E-R. H-Y-S-T-E-R, sisters.com.
Yes.
Coming up next, we are talking with the very funny Marlon Wayans about his newest project. Stick around to get some really good laughs.